Let's bring a friend of mine in, Pat Burrow. Pat, how are you today?
Bill, I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on with you.
Giants fans, this is Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants. KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
25th pitch of the inning already. Here it is. Adele pulls one, and it's fair! Inside the third base line. Ramos is going to dig it out. 2 runs have scored. Here comes Neto. The relay home. The tag. He's safe. And the Angels, for now, have walked it off.
Welcome into a Sunday afternoon. Happy Easter extra inning post-game show. And what a disappointing loss on this 10-day road trip. The gut punch is still sore. The 4 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning, just didn't see that happening with Ryan Walker on the hill. 15 for 15. That's right. 15 save opportunities, 15 saves he did. He just couldn't hold on to the lead as he had a 3-run lead going into the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Angels just inched back, and the double by Adele to end the game, it was just disappointing. I think all Giants fans saw a win here. I certainly did, with Ryan Walker coming in with a 3-run lead. He usually isn't always in with these 1-run games, but it just didn't happen today. But a lot of positives that happened on this road trip as the Giants finished 5-5 on the 10 games. They still have 7 more straight. 4 against Milwaukee, 3 against Texas. We'll talk about the upcoming Brewers 4-game probable pitchers, and they got some good pitchers coming in. They ended up beating the Athletics today. And, you know, you start looking at some of the things the Brewers did. 9 stolen bases today, so Patrick Bailey, get your arm ready. Today it just started off really well, and I was really, really happy to see Justin Verlander go out there and competed in his 5th start, pitched his best game so far in the 2025 season for the San Francisco Giants, going 6 innings, only giving up 2 hits. One was a home run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Got up to about 97 miles an hour, and that was a punch-out on Mike Trout in the 6th inning. And he elevated the fastball a lot today when you start breaking down what he did in his start. 98 pitches, 64 for strikes, and that was through 6 innings. He really limited the damage on a few of the innings. The first inning, he only threw 10 pitches, 8 for strikes. Second inning, 9 pitches, 6 for strikes. So he was right into rhythm with Sam Huff behind the plate. Third inning, 12 pitches, 8 strikes, just, overwhelming the hitters. He went 9 up, 9 down. Tim Anderson, the 9th hitter, he fell behind 3-0, came back and punched him out. The 4th inning just kind of got in a little rut, but he got out of it really nicely, gave up a double to Ward. He punched out Runifo, and then he walked Mike Trout on 8 pitches, and it was a good battle. Mike Trout, good hitter. We all know that. One of the best in the American League. He punched out Soler on a fastball, elevated fastball. Now he's got 2 outs, and he just couldn't shut down Shanimal. He walks him. It's bases loaded. He gets into a great count against O'Hop, and he punches him out on a 3-2 curveball. Ends the inning. You could see he was pumped up after that inning. The Giants end up scoring 1 in the top of the 5th to give him a lead. And the 1 pitch he throws to Neto, the first pitch in the bottom of the 5th, Neto hits his first home run. And that was really the only blimp he had on today's game. Just overwhelmed with fastballs today. He ended up throwing 49 fastballs. 50% of his pitches were fastballs. He got up to 97. The average was around 95. 30 swings, 9 for whiffs. The next 2 pitches, the slider and the sweeper. Both similar pitches. The sweeper more as a east to west. The slider is more of a 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And both of those he threw for 16 pitches each. Both are about the same. Slider was around 88, 86. The sweeper was around 85, 84. Mixed in a couple slow curveballs at 78 miles an hour and a changeup here. Only threw 5 of those. But overall, when you look at what he did today, he controlled his zone. He had a good rhythm out there, a good quick rhythm. Didn't shake a lot off on Sam Huff, which I really liked. Really didn't go inside or outside. Kind of stepped right in the middle of the plate, and Sam Huff was just there more or less leading the way for him. And Justin Verlander should have won this game. I was so happy for him after 6 innings, getting the count down from 98 pitches, 64 pitches, 13 first pitch strikes out of 22 hitters, 3 ground ball outs, 6 fly balls. That was a Justin Verlander we were looking for in his first 4 starts. And overall, when you look at the starting pitchers for these 3-game series, this is the pitching that no doubt JP Martinez was looking at. When you look on Friday, Logan Webb going 6 innings, 4 hits, only giving up 1 earned run, no walks, 12 strikeouts. Just a beautiful game that he lost. Landon Root yesterday goes 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. And then Justin Verlander coming in with 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. So if you add all this together, Giants fans, 3 outstanding performances by 3 starting pitchers going 19 innings, 11 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 27 strikeouts. I'm sure just like you, I watched this game. I was very impressed all 3 games as I ended up doing post games for all 3. And every one of them got ahead of hitters. And this is one thing that JP Martinez wanted to get that 0-1 count. You look at this in 19 innings, 3 walks, and we've been watching a starting pitcher for the last 20 games or so, and a lot of walks. Robbie Ray had trouble in Philadelphia, and earlier in the season there was a lot of walks in the first couple innings. And today, warm weather, of course, down in L.A. helped them throw the ball a little bit better, but the last inning today, a disappointing loss, no doubt, but you have to be pretty happy on a 10-day road trip, especially going into Yankee Stadium, Citizens Bank Park, and then now down in Anaheim, 5-5. Still a solid road trip. They still are on a 17-game stretch. They now come home and place a Milwaukee Brewer team. They're 12-10. Hit the ball real well against the Athletics today, and they face them for 4 straight games. And then the Texas Rangers next weekend for 3 before they get the first day off on the 28th of April. Got a great show lined up today. One of the first times I got to talk to Jung Hoo Lee last homestand. I ended up talking to Justin and wanted to see if he would do an interview with me. And they said, sure, we'll do it. So a couple days ago, we set it up, and Justin, myself, and Jung Hoo Lee sat down and pretty much gave him about 10, 12 questions, so he knew it was coming, man. It turned out to be a real fun interview, and that's coming up later in the show. And the 14-year veteran of the California Angels, LA Angels, Anaheim Angels, because he played for all 3, Tim Salmon. What a great interview for both of those, and that's coming up before the Warrior game starts. We'll get all this in before 6:30 tip-off. Of course, everybody's interested in the Golden State Warriors against the Houston Rockets first game. All right, let's take a break. 808 KNBR. Let's get some calls coming in here. A disappointing loss, but a very good road trip, Giants fans, as the San Francisco Giants come back home 14-8 for a 7-game homestand. My name's Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. Let's get some calls going and talk about this team as they come home. Coming up next, we'll have more right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Your financial journey is unique, and Pettinelli Financial Partners is here to help you navigate it with confidence. So whether you're building your future or securing your retirement, their team provides lifelong personal guidance every step of the way. Start planning your financial journey today. Learn more at PettinelliFP.com. The financial consultants at Pettinelli Financial Partners are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratus Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratus Wealth Partners and Pettinelli Financial Partners are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Here's the windup and the pitch to Soler. He hits a high fly ball to left. In the park, Ramos is there. Underneath it, Elliot Ramos reaches up, makes the catch. And Justin Verlander goes 6 strong today here in Anaheim.
All right, back on the Extra Inning post-game show on a Sunday here. Happy Easter to all of you out there. A beautiful day here in Northern California. It could have been a little bit better, but the Giants end up losing in the bottom of the 9th inning as Ryan Walker gives up 4 runs. First time he gave 4 up runs since 2023. He's just been awesome. I said it on the open, 15 for 15 in saves. And you just felt with a 3-run lead, it was going to be a nice 1-2-3 inning, but it just didn't prevail. The first pitch, I really felt that he was yanking his slider today, overthrowing his sinker. You could see some of the pitches really wild on the inside and the outside. The hit by pitch to Neto was a 1-2 sinker. He was trying to get out of the way, but the ball just kept coming inside, ended up hitting him. And then the 1-2 pitch to Adele was a slider, and they were going inside on him a lot, but the slider was away, and he just pushed it down to third baseline over Chapman's head, and it got into the corner there Ramos got it in as fast as he could, but Neto was one of the fastest players, and he ended up scoring. The replay did show him getting his hand under Huff, and a disappointing Giants team walking off the field. It was just a disappointing team loss for them and a disappointing team loss for all of us, as we felt this would have been a really strong road trip going 6-4. It still is a positive road trip as they go 5-5. 808 KNBR, phone lines are open. Let's take a peek what the Milwaukee Brewers are going to bring into Oracle for the next 4 games. The probable pitchers are out tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. All those games are at 6:45. On Thursday, it's a 12:45 matinee game. Tomorrow, Robbie Ray gets his a start against Quinn Priester. And Robbie Ray 3-0 with a 4.1 earned run average. Quinn Priester 1-0 with a .90 earned run average. On Tuesday, Jordan Hicks takes the ball. He's 1-2 with a 6-point earned run average against the left-hander Jose Quintana. We remember him back in Mets days. 2-0 with a .71 earned run average. 2 good earned run averages there for the first 2 starters for the Brewers. On Wednesday night, Logan Webb takes the hill. What a great game he did on Friday against the Angels. He's 2-1 with a 2.4 against a right-hander, Freddie Peralta, a problem the Giants have had with him in past years. He's 2-1 with a 1.9 earned run average. And then the matinee, Landon Root takes the hill again, 2-1 with a 4.0 earned run average against Tobias Myers. It's going to be his first start. But when you start breaking down the Milwaukee Brewers, they've been playing pretty good lately. They took 2 or 3 from the Athletics, and today they really whipped them hard today. But when you start looking at numbers for the season, they're hitting 230 as a team. The Giants are around 225. Before the games today, Milwaukee had 21 home runs. The Giants had 24. 89 RBIs for Milwaukee, 102 for the Giants, 107 runs for the Giants, and they had 98. So these were all before both games were played today. On the earned run average side, the pitchers, the Giants are pitching really well. We know that. Their bullpen has been lights out. You take a look at the team earned run average, a 3.4 earned run average for the Giants, a 4.2 earned run average for Milwaukee. Going into today's game, the Giants bullpen had a 1.78 earned run average, second in Major League Baseball, a whip of under 1, which is a .98, third in Major League Baseball, 180 opponents batting average, third in Major League Baseball. So a lot of good numbers, and of course that the 4 earned runs that Ryan Walker gave up. But, you know, I look back and on my open, I talked about the Giants starters this series, and it was really, really solid starting pitchers from Logan Webb, Landon Roop, and Justin Verlander. So we'll see what happens. They still got 7 more games before they get their first day off on May 28th, and they just have to come home. They haven't been home in a while. They're 4-2 at home. They only had 2 series. They played the Reds and they played the Mariners. So we'll find out what the Brewers bring to Oracle and get some home cooking. Get them away from all these hotels on the road. 10 days was a long trip for the Giants going through New York, Philadelphia, and Anaheim. 808 KNBR, if you want to get on the phone lines, let's go out to Berkeley. Let's welcome in Andrea. Andrea, how are you on a Sunday afternoon?
Easter, and it's a season of rebirth and renewal.
Yeah.
And Justin Verlander looked like he was on the cusp of that, so I'll take a page out of your playbook and be positive.
You have to. I mean, when you look at the 3 starting pitchers, there's nothing to complain about.
Yes,
in
correct.
the zone, you know, you look at what they did in 3 starts. You know, it was just remarkable how each one did their own thing, and each one of them planted seeds against the Angels that just made them elevate even better. 3 walks in 3 games for the starters with 27 strikeouts. That's impressive.
Yeah, no, it was really, you know, just very gratifying to see Verlander do so well. And I think part of the Neptune transits, the challenges are even when you do well, there can be some disappointing results.
Yeah,
so,
totally right.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, as a pitcher, you know, you can do the best you can with what you got, and it doesn't guarantee a win, but it was still very gratifying and heartening, and hopeful to see him do so well. And that was a crazy ninth inning, I got to say. That was pretty wild. And I think your point is well taken. That was quite a road trip. I mean, the Yankees, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Angels. I think it'll be, very nurturing and a lot calmer to be home.
Well, coming home and getting that last at bat and getting the home team crowd involved in it. And I think that's going to be a big plus for this team. And, there was a couple of games where they could have won 2-0 the Friday night game. They just couldn't get any run support. Today, going into the ninth inning with a 3-run lead, everybody, I'm sure you did as well as I did, this game's over. Let's count it up and get the win on the board. It would have been 15-7, 6-4. It just didn't happen, and these things happen in the game of baseball, no question about it. And Ryan Walker, 15 for 15 in save opportunities. You just didn't see that happening, but he was just wild. He was overthrowing pitches. He wasn't that perfection with that slider in the outside corner. It just kind of whipped off the side. The sinker was going inside even worse. And I thought he was overthrowing yesterday, and today I thought he was doing it even worse because he couldn't control either pitch.
Yeah, I think he's November 28th, so fellow Sagittarius, but needed to have a little more control. And on a happier note, I liked your Moon Man interview. I didn't catch how we got his nickname, though, Bill.
Well, we couldn't bring that up, Andrea. That was the problem.
Okay.
There was a lot of stories and things he did that you just couldn't talk over radio. But let me tell you, he was a crazy, crazy friend of mine.
Got it.
He did some crazy things off the field, and it was just fun catching up with him and talking baseball. One of the best relievers in the 80s, no doubt.
Yeah, and I look forward to your Jung Hoo Lee interview today, Bill. That should be awesome.
Yeah, that's a fun one. It was set up, and we had to do a lot of things, before the preview of it. And it just turned out really fun, and I think Giants fans are going to enjoy it. Of course, it's going through an interpreter. And the other one, too, Andrea, Tim Salmon, 14 years with the Angels, and bring up a lot about his career. And, of course, we've got to bring up when the Angels beat the Giants in the World Series. And he holds back a little bit. He goes, what the hell, Bill? We beat you guys. So it was a fun interview with Tim Salmon. Both of them coming up before the Warrior tip at 6:30. So
good timing.
Get those interviews in.
Yes, good timing and a great show. And, it was encouraging on some level with Verlander doing so much better, and the Neptune transit, it can be disappointing, but the bottom line is he did really well, and we can take that away with us.
And I think that's a good start for him, and I would love to have him 1-0. It just didn't work out, but those positive things will motivate him in his next start, and that will be against the Rangers. So that'll be on Friday night, so that'll be a good one for him against another American League team. But Andrea, have a great rest of the day. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous day here in Northern California, and happy Easter to you.
Rebirth and renewal.
Let's go out to Lathrop and talk to Sergio. Sergio, on an extra inning post-game show on a Sunday. I wish we had better results, but still a lot of positives off this road trip.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, how's it going, man? Happy Easter.
Well, I just didn't think it was a gut punch. No question. These are gut punches, especially with the Giants team on a 10-day road trip, and you had a 3-run lead going to the bottom of the ninth inning, and I don't think anybody saw it in the orange and black, especially the fan base. And these things happen. We know, closers sometimes falter, and 15 for 15 for Ryan Walker just didn't have it today.
Yeah, it looked pretty obvious he didn't have it right away from the beginning, but can we just put in a request not to play the Angels anymore? Because no matter how many runs, you're ahead of them, they always find it. And thanks for bringing up that World Series thing. Come on, man.
Well, I brought it up because Tim Salmon brought it up. That's why I'm bringing that up. I didn't bring it up. I interviewed Tim Salmon, and Tim Salmon brought it up. So, I said, you're a World Series champion. And, of course, he says, of course I am, Bill. And it's just a fun back and forth with him. What a great player he was for 14 years, and you'll hear that interview later. But let me ask you something, Sergio. The 3 starting pitchers, Webb, Roop, and Verlander, some great pitching out of the starting staff for these 3-game series.
I was just looking at that, Bill, and that was Webb. I think he gave up 4 hits. I didn't get to watch the game. I was over in Reno, and I was checking my phone, and then I found out that they lost. I go, wait a minute, 4 hits. How do we lose that
Verlander
game?
only gave up 2 hits. He only gave up 2 hits in 6 innings, gave up the home run after they scored 1, but he was dominant. He got out of a jam with bases loaded in the 4th inning, and he prevailed in the 6th inning, punching out Mike Trout with an elevated fastball at 97 miles an hour in the 6th inning. So he's still got a little spunk in that arm.
Yeah. Hey. So before I get to what I want to say is, first of all, I appreciate the interview last night with the Moon Man, and then you topped it up with this one with Marky Lodge. That was awesome.
Yeah, the pregame show, I did the warm-up show today with Mark, and a good guy, good friend of mine. He jumped on an Easter Sunday, and a good back and forth and a lot of baseball talk, and he is a true Giants fan. You can hear the excitement in his voice and some of the things he brought up. So thank you so much, Sergio, for bringing those up.
But anyways, what I want to say is, you guys were talking about the hitting, right? And you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head. That's kind of a little concerning, even though the one that I'm worried about is Eli Ramos, and not too far behind is Wade and Adames. Even though you see signs that they're coming out of it. But
Elliott was 2 for 3 today. He had that double in the left center field, and then hustled on the bad throw by Dell, and then he got a base hit leading off the game. So I thought he hit the ball well today. Adames had 2 nice base hits for 2 RBIs, but you're right on one thing here, Sergio. When you look at 3, 4, 5, 6, the middle of the order, they were 0 for 17 today. And yesterday, 6, 7, 8, 9 were 0 for 20. Now the bottom of the order today did some damage. Fitzgerald was 1 for 2 with 2 walks and a stolen base. David VR coming up from Sacramento got a base hit, but Sam Huff had a real good day in the offensive side, hitting his first home run, 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs, and that kind of spurred the Giants. That got them excited, and it was about time. A catcher finally hitting a home run. It took them, 22 games. So I'm glad to see Sam Huff get a little bit more at the plate today, and he a little more disciplined. Got 2 hits, so that was a positive out of him.
Yeah, I was thinking about what Marky Vine said at the interview when he brought up Hicks. Maybe he might be better fit to in the settlement. I was kind of thinking that kind of makes a little sense. But
it does.
Good, though.
It does, Sergio. But there really isn't a place for him in a bullpen unless you change Birdsong out. But he signed 2 years ago here, and one of the things he wanted and he requested was be a starting pitcher. Now, that game in Philadelphia where he pitched, wow, he was lights out after that first inning, going 6 shutout. I just think you got to give him a little time to breathe as a starting pitcher. We saw Verlander come through too, and Robbie Ray again. So it takes 4 or 5 starts to kind of get your consistency, your rhythm, your pitches in. Yeah, just like hitting. You just said it. It takes a little while, but there are some hitters, Patrick Bailey, and you mentioned Lamont Wade Jr., both of them, they need him in this lineup, and they need to produce.
Yeah. Otherwise, you got to come up with something else, and I'm not sure if VR is the right guy to replace Lamont Wade.
Casey Schmidt.
We'll see, man.
Well, Casey Schmidt's on the IL with an oblique, and to tell you the truth, Villar was about the only one that was hitting the ball consistently. He was outrighted and no team picked him up. He was hit 368 in Sacramento, 1 home run, 7 RBIs. Of course, it's AAA baseball, ball carries, but hitting 368, he was doing some damage at the plate. So they brought him up, and he got a knock today. He went 1 for 4.
Yeah, I saw him up there. I went up to Sacramento Tuesday night, which I'm going to call that a Candlestick Park too. It was crazy up there that Tuesday night.
Oh, I bet. Some of the night games, it blows up there, and it just gets chilly.
It was.
Yeah.
People were leaving in the 5th inning. We left in the 5th. It was just so damn cold.
Well, Sergio, thanks for calling. Thanks for calling in once again. Have a happy Easter. Hopefully you and your family are safe and enjoying the day. All right, let's go to Jeff. He was at the game today. Jeff, you're on an extra inning post-game show. Love to hear what you had to say about the game. A gut punch in the bottom of the 9th. The Giants walk out of there losing 2 out of 3. How are you today?
Tell me about it. So we're a sad bunch in the car, Bill. We need to pick me up. It started off as a beautiful day. JV tossed 3 hitless innings to get things going. Tons of Giants fans in the stands. Gorgeous weather, and then an absolute train wreck in the 9th inning.
It sure was. was, and I don't think anybody saw that coming. I keep throwing Ryan Walker out there. 15 appearances to get saves, 15 saves. Today, the ball was just going everywhere. He couldn't control it, and instead of taking a little off on it, he was throwing it harder, and some of the balls were missing the plate by 2 or 3 inches. It wasn't even close, and the whip on the pitches were wild to the left, wild to the right, and he just couldn't get a good pitch in. And when you see Joe Adell, a 1-2 slider was right across the plate, and Adell hit it down the line on third base, and everybody was running. And, of course, Neto at first base, the fastest runner they had. That was a bang-bang play at home. Of course, the replay showed him getting his hand under Huff. But disappointing. I think that was the word, especially with a 3-run lead going in the bottom of the 9th inning. I was saying, oh, boy, this is a great road trip. And I still think it is. 5-5. It would have been better 6-4. A good start by the Giants. They're 14-8.
Yep, and you're not wrong. We were lucky enough to sit right behind the plate, and his ball was everywhere but over the plate, except for the double that he served up. I got to ask you, is there a reason Bomel left him in? Is the bullpen just exhausted? There was nobody else to go to, or he's just trusting his 15-plus saves so far reliever?
Well, you have to. That's your closer. He had a 3-run lead. 9 out of 10 times he gets that 1-2-3 inning. The pitch to Trout, I thought was a questionable Trout. Lays Diaz, of course, called it a ball. It was about chest high. It could have gone either way. The base hit by Soler was this floater out to left center field. First and second, he punches out the next guy, and then a ground ball by O'Hop just got through the hole, and it was bases loaded. The pitch that I was a little upset at was the 1-2 pitch to Neto. It was a sinker in.
Yeah.
He had him 1-2, didn't need to go in that far, and he hits him. And that really started that whole transpired, changing the direction of the game, changing the adrenaline of the game, and it backfired on the Giants.
In a big way. I'll leave you with this. I'll tell you what, it was really fun to see 2 Hall of Famers in Trout and JV going at each other today, and JV certainly got the best of it.
He sure did. It was fun. Those were good pitches, and when he punched him out in the 6th inning going 97 miles an hour elevated, that was pretty cool. I just thought that was a cool moment for both of them, especially Verlander at 42 years old, still bringing it at 97. And it was an impressive start by him, and that was the 5th start he's had, and no doubt if he can continue to do some of what he did today, he'll be fine for the rest of the season. But thanks again, Jeff, for giving me a call.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep, appreciate your time, and have a safe trip home. Yep, safe travels for you. Just some, I love when fans call from the game. You hear the excitement, and of course, a lot of Giants fans were in Anaheim. You could hear it when they scored the home run by Huff. The place went crazy. They even had some Jung Hoo Lee chants, which I thought was pretty cool. You heard them over the TV set. But all right, let's go to Orlando and talk to Joshua. Joshua, you're on a Sunday extra inning post-game show. How are you?
Very good, Bill. I felt like the best time for me to call is when the Giants lose. Because,
and why is that? Come on.
Well, when they win, I'm in good spirits, and I hear all the fans are in good spirits too on the radio with you. But when they lose, I could put some criticism, and I could also say that Sergio Romo used to give up saves as well when he was a closer during the season. It's not you can have a perfect closer every
can't do it. Brian Wilson, go back to Brian Wilson, Rob Beck, and then you can go Rob Nen. You go back in my day with Greg Moonman Mitten, who was on my show yesterday. There are times when these guys come in and they don't have that lights out stuff. Today, he just couldn't adjust the speed of his pitches, and he was all over the place. And even Sam Huff was trying to calm him down. They even had J.P. Martinez to go out there, calm the heartbeat down, calm the adrenaline down. It just didn't happen, and he ended up getting 4 earned runs against him, and they chased him for a loss.
And I want to say the Angels were feasting on him. They were taking the balls, and they just put some hits together, and that was that. But you know what? 13 out of 15 times of those save opportunities, he's going to get you the save, and I'm going to expect some more saves coming in the home series.
Oh, no question. And I think this home series is going to be good for them. 4 against Milwaukee and 3 against Texas before they get their first day off on the 28th of April. And a long road trip, a lot of cold, windy, rainy days. And now they're coming back home to Oracle. And let's just hope this team bounces back here and they get a couple wins Monday and Tuesday and make this homestand successful for them.
I wanted to add in, when I was listening to you talking about VR and the other Lamont, were you saying Lamont is injured?
No, Casey Schmidt. Casey Schmidt ended up pulling an oblique muscle. He's out for 10 to 15 days. So Encarnacion went on a 60-day rehab because of his finger. He had surgery on it from spring training. So VR had to find a spot on the roster. So that's how they made the move to bring VR up. He was the only one really hitting consistently in Sacramento. They made the move. He got a knock today. First base, you'll play there when left-handers face, and this is what they'll do. That was the first transaction that's been made by the Giants so far in 22 games.
Yeah, you know what? I think if Bryce Eldridge gets hot, he's going to be up here too.
Yeah, he's got a ways to go. He's in extended spring training. The wrist was bothering him. He stayed down there. They're supposed to make a move here soon. Either he'll go to Richmond or Sacramento. It's really going to be timing. It's going to get him back into playing every day, and we'll see where they put him, and everybody will be following him, and we will definitely do that on the weekend shows of the Extra Inning Postgame Show. But, Jeff, thanks so much for the call today, Joshua, and you know what? Let's just hope for better in the next homestand, and the Giants come home 14-8. Thanks for the call. 808 KNBR will continue with the phone calls. We'll take a quick break and bring back more. Also, later on the show, an interview with Jung Hoo Lee as well as Tim Salmon. So don't go away. Basketball game doesn't start till 6:30, so keep your ears on KNBR. Listen to the Extra Inning Postgame Show, and we'll take some more calls, and we'll do that in a second right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
From the mound to the mic, this is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him by saying to your smart speaker, play KNBR.
The pitch, he hits a high drive to center field. Adele going back onto the warning track at the wall. He leaps. It's off the top of the wall, and it's gone. Sam Huff with a home run to right center field. There's that power. And the Giants are back ahead. It's 3-1.
Back on the extra inning post-game show, Dave Fleming calling that ball that Sam Huff hit in the 6th inning, a 1-1 changeup of Brock Burke, and boy, he didn't miss it. He hit that 398 feet. It looked like Dell was going to get up and catch it, but he didn't, and it went over the wall for his first home run in the San Francisco Giants uniform, and it took the Giants to a 3-1 lead, and it was looking really good. They got another run in the 8th inning on a walk by Fitzgerald. He stole second base, and another base hit by Adames. Adames was 2 for 5 today with 2 RBIs, but the Giants just couldn't hold it in the bottom of the 9th inning as the LA Angels rallied for 4 runs, and they ended up beating the Giants today 5-4. Giants are now 14-8. When you start looking at the numbers, 9-3 in the interleague. That was pretty impressive. 10-6 on the road. They come home 4-2 at home. They've only had one homestand. The other numbers are really good. And when they play one-run games, they've had 6 of them. There were 4-2 in one-run games. All right, let's get back to the phone calls. 808 KNBR. Milwaukee comes in for 4. Texas comes in for 3 next Saturday. Brandon Crawford Celebration Day at Oracle. Should be a fun homestand. Let's get out there and support this San Francisco Giants team. All right, let's go back out and talk to Jeff. Jeff was also today at the game. Jeff, what did you see in the game? And a little disappointing loss by the Giants.
Well, Bill, I have to tell you, this drive, if you know LA at all, the drive from Anaheim to the San Fernando Valley has become a whole lot longer than I thought it would be after what I just saw. But I will say I'm more stunned than I am upset because of the faith I have in the back end of the bullpen, especially when Doval got through the 7th. Mm-hmm. And so I'm more shocked than anything. I'm unhappy about what I've read on Twitter, and I hear about, oh, well, Walker should have been pulled, and this is on Bowmel. What else would you have done in that situation?
No, that's what you go for. That's your bullpen. That's why the bullpen is under a 2-point earned run average. These guys have been throwing extremely well. They're going to have hiccups in this season. It's a 162-game season. Ryan Walker, as I said, Jeff, 15 for 15. Why would you not go that route? It worked yesterday. You had Rogers come in the 8th. Walker finished it out. Today, like you said, Duvall comes in, walks the first hitter, and everybody was like, okay, here we go. But he ends up getting a nice 5-4-3 double play to get out of it. Rogers has just been lights out coming in and holding runners and holding the save position. I think really when you look at him, 12 games he's been in the 22 games, and he has been lights out. He's right on the way. I think he's a possibility of being an all-star on this team. It's early still, but he just continues to be consistent.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm very much on the positive. Many things. First of all, the pitching this week, the starting pitching this weekend was exceptional. I was very happy. I'm such a Willy Adames fan. How anybody could not be, I don't know. He had 2 clutch hits today. I was very happy to see that. The turnout, the Giants fans, we were out, like you say. It was amazing how we represented today. It was incredible. I didn't go to the other 2 games. I just went today, and I could see on TV there was great representation. And I think this team is playing extremely well based on the level of talent. The bullpen I have 100% faith in. And as we're seeing, the rotation may very well be as good as the bullpen. And if not, they've certainly got Birdsong ready, and it sounds like they have the lefty ready in Sacramento to make the jump if that happens.
Kyle Harrison, he's been throwing a ball good. So is Carson Wisenhunt also. Carson Wisenhunt, the number 2 prospect, he's been throwing really well in 20 innings down there, has an earned run average under a 1. So we'll watch a couple of those guys continue to be in progress because they're both young left-handers. I don't think there's any panic here with the pitching staff or the rotation. I just would like to see a couple guys start getting better at bats. Lamont Wade Jr., 1 for 32. Patrick Bailey, under 160. They need these guys to get in this lineup and be better. And I think that's one of the things. You're going to have a lot of right-handers coming into them. And these 2 guys have to perform better than what they are.
You know what else, Bill, that I haven't heard too many people talking about? I realize this is the major leagues. These guys just came through a pretty brutal 10-game road trip and then have 7 straight at home. So 17 games in 17 days. Now, they went 5-5 in the road trip. Should have been 6-4, sure. But they went 5-5 on the road trip in brutal weather in New York, a very tough team in Philadelphia, and a series they should have won here in Anaheim. You know what? This is a nice team, and they're fun to watch. They execute well. They get the clutch hits that they weren't getting last year. They've been playing very good defense. The pitching is very strong, especially the bullpen. There's so much to be positive about. I'm very, very disappointed that they blew that game. I'm still much more in shock than I am even angry. But
I think all of us are. I think all of us are, Jeff. It was like a gut punch that you weren't seeing coming.
Right, but what did you say, 14-8?
Yeah, 14
I'll take 14-8 after with what, 7 home games they've played?
They've only played 6, and they're 4-2 at home. They're coming home. When you looked at the Angels only had a 3-game homestand. This is the first time they played, and as you said, the crowds came out, over 40,000 people in each game. It was really, really a big contingent of Giants fans. You saw them, we heard them. And today they had a nice lead, just couldn't hold it. But I'm right there with you with a lot of the positives you just talked about. Starting pitching, the bullpen, and they're playing competitive games. I think that's what we're watching. We're a team that's not making a lot of errors. They're second in Major League Baseball committing errors. They have none. They have like 7 errors in the first 22 games. That's impressive to me because they're playing together. I loved what you said about Adames. Don't worry about Adames. Adames is a pro. He's been in the big leagues many years. You talked about it, 2 impressive base hits with runners in scoring position and ended up getting 2 RBIs. But overall, this team is playing good baseball. Bob Melvin and Buster Posey has been really putting this team together. Not many movements. Of course, Casey Schmidt being hurt is really the only transaction they've had, and we'll see what David VR can do. I really like the kid, and of course today coming in 1 for 4. But there's so many different facets of this team I think Giants fans are pretty happy about.
And you know what else? I'm a Bo Mel fan. I mean, no one's going to be Bruce Bochy. I couldn't stand Gabe Kapler. I'm so glad that he's gone. I'm glad he got fired. I don't like him. I didn't have any comfort in him as the manager. I don't care if they won 107 games that year. He did a great job. I love Bo Mel. I have 100% confidence in him, 100% faith in him. And these people that are immediately, you go on Twitter, they lose, and immediately it's bagging on Bo Mel. I mean, come on, really?
And it's the same thing right here, though, Jeff. When they lose, you get those callers that are Debbie Downers. They just want to attack them when they lose, but they don't do what you did. You watched this whole game. You watched this team in 22 games. You can see a different spirit on this team, a different motivation. Guys are stealing bases. They're running from first to third on throws. What Elliot Ramos did today when he hit the double with the overthrow from Adele, running as fast as he could, head first into third base. That's hustle play. That's a heads-up play.
And you know what? I agree that we were on the third base side, but upstairs. We didn't have the seats that the other guy had. I wish we had. But I'll tell you what, and I love Fitzgerald. I absolutely love that guy. You know what? I was watching him every time I got on base. I'm saying to my friend, is he going to run here? Is he going to run here? A guy has speed. He's an aggressive. He did get caught in that, where they threw over and they got him at second base. Okay, that's going to happen. But I like the aggressiveness. They're not waiting for, going position by, base by base here. They're aggressive. They're, for the most part, smart. And if your aggressiveness is going to have that happen every now and then it happens every now and then. But I like, they're playing smart baseball. They're playing good baseball. This was an anomaly as far as I'm concerned, Bill. And I like this team this year. Do I wish that they had signed Corbin Burns at the top of the rotation? I sure do. But you know what? It is what it is. The guy, I'm really pleasantly surprised at what we saw from Verlander today. The guy that worries me is Robbie Ray, because I think every game seems to be barely.
He really is trying to overachieve, and I think when you look at what Willie Adames and Matt Chapman did in the first 10, 12 games, they were trying to do too much. Chapman ended up going 0 for 23. Adames wasn't comfortable yet. You're starting to see them flow a little bit better in their at-bats, going the opposite way. Starting rotation, I was so happy to see Justin Verlander have a good game. In his heart, he's trying like hell just to produce for the Giants. They gave him a one-year contract to show people, hey, I'm 42 years old. He punched out Mike Trout today, Jeff, with a 97-mile-an-hour elevated fastball. I don't know if I could even think about throwing a fastball at 42 years old, at least not 97. I can guarantee you that.
Well, and look at how this rotation did this weekend, Bill. I mean, Webby is Webby. He's a superstar. Look how well Luke pitched. I mean, this guy's something special, Luke. Mm-hmm. So we got him. The guy I'm more bullish on is Wisenhunt, because Harrison worries me. I feel like they had two superstar talents coming up in Harrison and offensively with Luciano, and I think these guys are. I don't want to say busts. I hope to God I'm wrong. They don't impress me. I hate to use that word, and they're not impressive. I feel like Harrison's just never going to figure it out. But I'll tell you, Wisenhunt, I think, is going to be the real deal. And I hope to God I'm wrong about it.
I really agree. I'm going to try. I've already requested. I'm going to try to do an interview with him next weekend. I've already requested it through the Rivercats. I'll see if I can do that. But I really want to talk to him a lot, not just about his changeup, but the other pitches he has. He's really refined a couple secondary pitches. He's thrown the ball really well over 20 innings as an under 1 point earned run average. So looking forward to doing that for next weekend. But Jeff, one of the things I do want to ask you about Verlander, he looked composed today, didn't he? He just didn't look rattled coming around the second, third time around with his lineup. I thought he got stronger as the game got on.
He seemed to, but I got to tell you, Bill, I was sitting so high up I couldn't really tell. but I got to find that other Jeff that was on the phone with you before and see if I can become his best friend, because he's obviously got good tickets, no doubt. Although I will tell you, I'm looking forward to it. I do a classic car show in Burlingame in June, and I'm coming up, and I'm going to go to that Saturday game against the Red Sox. So I'm going to be on home turf, and I can't wait to do that. But he was, back to your question, he certainly had the command. He certainly had the numbers. He only gave up 2 hits the whole time he was in.
Correct.
The fact that he made it through 6 full, and Duvall was shaky, and I just thought, oh God, here we go. And he turned it around, and then my God, Rogers is how anybody would ever complain about Rogers.
He is so automatic.
I can't imagine.
Yep.
And you know what? When they get to that point, to the 7th, I'm basically saying game over. Like I said, I used the word anomaly before, but with those guys and with some of the other guys, here's one thing I do want to ask you as a pitcher. Does it concern you that they only have one lefty in the bullpen?
And when they broke spring training, I was wondering what they were going to do, and they got rid of Taylor Rogers, the other lefty. But, when you look at what Tyler Rogers can do, Tyler Rogers can get lefties out just as good as right-handers. Eric Miller, the only left-hander, can do the opposite against right-handers. And, when I talked to Bo Mel and I talked to J.P. Martinez, they really didn't think they needed another left-hander. They were going in length with Bivens and Rodriguez, and then you had to do something with Birdsong because you had Birdsong and Roop both competing for that 5th spot. They put Birdsong in a bullpen. So I know they didn't want to get rid of him and go down in AAA and be a starter. I think they want him at a big league level. I thought the moves they did were authentic. They got rid of Jelly. They got rid of Tristan Beck to go back down to AAA, and they gave some new faces, some bullpen. You look at Lou Trevino. Trevino's just been lights out. Do a good job after he's had Tommy John. A lot of different moves they did, but I really think they did the right thing, Jeff. And, you start to look at this rotation. Now I'm seeing a little bit more out of, like what you said, when you look at Webb. Logan Webb is so dynamic as your ace. But today, Justin Verlander was the one that I was really impressed with. And it's a good omen for him to get a good start. And now he comes home and throws at Oracle Park.
I think this is a very good, very balanced team. I think that they're light years different than they were last year, and this must be Buster because they're doing they're getting the runners in. Remember, runner on third with nobody out. How are they going to figure this? How are they going to leave them this time? And 9 times out of 10 that came to fruition. Now they're scoring these guys. If they don't get them in with 1 out, they're getting them in with 2 outs. They're playing great. They're playing great defense. They're executing. They're being dynamic. They're playing the kind of baseball that needs to be played in, when half of your games are in Oracle Park. And that's another thing is I was saying to my friend that I was with today, the whole misnomer about, hitters don't want to come to Oracle Park. That's power hitters as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
But when you've got, and Jung Hoo Lee is, and I said this the second they got him, he is the perfect kind of guy for that ballpark in terms of offense. And this whole nonsense about how home run hitters don't want to play there, fine, they don't. Who were the big, they talk about how the Giants haven't had a home run hitter, somebody hit over 30 since Barry Bonds, right? Mm-hmm. What else? But what have they done? They've won the World Series 3 times because you win with pitching, defense, timely hitting, and execution. And that's the Giants' way of winning in Oracle Park.
And so you're seeing that this year, Jeff. That's what we're seeing in the changeover from Buster Posey to Farhan Zaidi. Buster's seeing that. He's keeping guys in the lineup. Bob Melvin feels the guys stay in the lineup. Let's try to bust you out of this slump. I think that's what this team is. They're confident with Bob Melvin now at the head, and he's kind of making the doors open for certain guys at certain times. And I loved what he's done. I really am happy with the 26-man roster they have competing, and we'll see if they do anything in this homestand. A good homestand that they need to try to overcome a couple of little flaws in their hitting, get some guys back hitting the ball better, getting on base, and let's just look for a good homestand. But, Jeff, great call today. I really appreciate your time. Safe travels home, and happy Easter, my friend.
You're awesome, Bill. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thanks, Jeff. Coming up next, I sit down with Justin, who is the interpreter for Jung Hoo Lee. And when you talk about interviews to Korean players, they have a history where you have to bring up their last name first. So when I talk to Justin and setting up this interview, it is Lee Jung Hoo, and you'll hear me talking about that when I ask these questions. When you look at what Lee Jung Hoo did in Korea baseball in 2017, he was Rookie of the Year. He was 18 years old, and he was playing in Korea baseball. He was the most valuable player in 2022. The numbers were just dynamic. 5-time Gold Glove winner. Now you say, hey, Korea baseball is not like Major League Baseball. You're right. It isn't. The competition isn't at equal to Major League Baseball, but you still go out there and play. And he's had some dynamic years in the 7 years that he played in Korea baseball. So sit back. You're going to hear me talk to Justin, and then Justin will relay the question to Lee Jung Hoo. Lee Jung Hoo will, and again, speak Korean back to Justin, and we'll hear the answer. It's a little longer interview, but you'll get it. You'll get, accustomed to how we do this. But I wanted to try something different today. I wanted to try something different for Giants fans. You see them sometimes on television doing interviews, but it's hard to do something on radio. And, of course, if you know me, I like being first in a lot of things. So sit back. This is an interview that I had with Justin and the interpreter and Lee Jung Hoo. That's coming up next right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Your financial journey is unique, and Pettinelli Financial Partners is here to help you navigate it with confidence. So whether you're building your future or securing your retirement, their team provides lifelong personal guidance every step of the way. Start planning your financial journey today. Learn more at PettinelliFP.com. The financial consultants at Pettinelli Financial Partners are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratus Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratus Wealth Partners and Pettinelli Financial Partners are separate entities from LPL Financial.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey. My guest played 7 years in Korea baseball. He played in 2017 at the age of 18. He won Rookie of the Year, batting .324. In the next 5 years, he was a Gold Glove winner. And in 2022, he was the MVP of the league. 36 doubles, 10 triples, 23 home runs, and hit .349. On December 14, 2023, he fulfilled his dream to play Major League Baseball as he signed a 6-year contract with the San Francisco Giants. Let's welcome in Lee Jung Hoo and his interpreter, Justin. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
오늘 잘해주셔서 감사합니다. Thank you.
Let's start off now, Justin, with Lee Jung Hoo. You started a 10-day road trip. I saw a picture of Lee Jung Hoo at Times Square in New York City. And then I watched him play 3 games in Yankee Stadium where he hit 3 home runs. Please ask him how he liked New York City.
지금은 10일짜리 원정을 하고 있고, 이제 이정우 선수가 그 인스타에다가 타임스퀘어 사진을 올려가지고 뉴욕을 다녀온 것도 알고 있는데, 뉴욕은 어땠나요?
제가 지금까지 뭐 가봤던 도시들 중에서 가장 컸던 것 같고, 또 날씨도 엄청 추웠고, 또 좋은 경기하고 와서 좋은 기억으로 남아있습니다.
From out of all the cities I've been to, probably the biggest city, New York, very cold, but I did have a good experience over there, so good memories.
Well, let's start off with his dad, Lee Jong-boom. Of course, his dad was a superstar in Korea, 13 All-Star games, 6 Gold Gloves at MVP. His number 7 was retired. How much influence and motivation did he do to Lee Jung-hoo?
이정우 선수 아버님께서 어마무시한 경력을 가지고 계세요. 영구 결번까지 되셨고, 야구를 하는데 얼만큼 동기부여가 됐는지 궁금하네요.
뭐 아빠를 뛰어넘는 게 저의 목표가 아니어서 그렇지만 아빠를 보고 야구를 하고 싶었고 야구의 꿈도 키워왔고 또 지금은 아버지의 그림자가 크다곤 하지만 제가 더 잘해서 저의 이름으로 그 아버지의 큰 그림자보다 더 큰 저만의 그림자로 그걸 덮어버리고 싶습니다.
Yeah, my dad's he's a great baseball player, and I've always had this in my mind where he was always in my presence. I felt like I was always in his shadow, but just growing up here, making my own baseball career, I feel like I had that responsibility of making my own presence as a baseball player, and I feel like I achieved it. So, but talking about baseball, there wasn't always a big influence because I just like baseball because my dad played baseball. It's not about, I had a personal goal. I was like, should I play better baseball than that? No, I never had that kind of thought inside of me.
Well, Lee Jung-hoo, in 2008, you watched South Korea win a gold medal at the Beijing Olympics. Something that motivated you, something that you had a little spirit of wanting to play baseball a little bit more. Tell me about that time.
2008년 베이징 올림픽 금메달 땄던 게 이정우 선수한테는 야구적으로 조금 영향이 있었는지 동기부여가 됐는지 궁금하네요.
네, 오히려 그때는 정말 저도 초등학교에서 야구를 하고 있었던 선수였는데 그런 선배들의 모습 보면서 나도 나중에 저런 선수가 되고 싶다는 생각을 했던 것 같아요.
Yeah, I remember in 2008 I was in elementary and I was watching the Beijing Olympics. For sure it was a big influence because I knew I wanted to play baseball like all the seniors that they played over there in the Beijing Olympics.
Well, your dad played in Japan, and Ichiro Suzuki was a big name back in Japan. And something about him, Lee Jung-hoo loved about him, his inspiration. He wears number 51 because he honored Ichiro. Tell me a little bit about what he thought of him, watching him at a young age, and then has he ever met him and talked to him?
이치로 선수의 얘기를 하고 싶은데요. 이정우 선수랑 같은 51번이고 아무래도 이정우 선수한테 조금 이렇게 영향력을 주었던 분 중 한 분이지 않을까 생각을 해요. 근데 이제 이치로 선수에 대해서 어떻게 생각하고 좀 이번에 메이저리그 오면서 실제로 만나볼 수 있는 기회가 있었는지도 궁금하네요.
작년에 일단 스프링 캠프 때 감독님께서 만나게 해주셨고 또 그때 만났던 기억이 좋은 기억으로 남아있고 또 야구를 처음 시작했을 때 아빠가 자신 말고 이 선수를 보고 좀 열심히 했으면 좋겠다라고 얘기를 해줘서 그때부터 좋아했던 것 같아요.
Yeah, thankfully I got to meet up with Ichiro last spring in 2024. A great moment, very happy conversations going back and forth. And I remember when I was young, my dad told me, if you would like to make a personal role model in baseball, my dad told me that Ichiro would be a great player to look up to. So after that, I've always looked up to him.
When watching him hit, when he watch his movements, watch his hands movements, Lee Jung-hoo has a lot of the same movements and batting stance. Is this something that he watched when he was growing up? And does he still watch tapes of him?
이치로 선수가 손 쓰는 방법, 그리고 이제 이치로 선수가 배팅 스탠스 이런 부분들 봤을 때 이정우 선수를 봤을 때는 되게 비슷한 부분들이 되게 많아요. 지금도 아직도 영상을 좀 많이 찾아보는지 좀 그런 부분들이 궁금하네요.
지금은 많이 보지 않지만 그래도 지금 그렇게 얘기해 주셔서 영광입니다.
Yeah, I don't look at a lot of tapes of Ichiro at the moment, but I am very honored that you told me that I kind of look like Ichiro at bat.
Well, I think myself, as well as a lot of Giants fans and Major League Baseball fans, see a lot in Lee Jung Hoo with Ichiro Suzuki. But let's go to another point here, Justin. Why did Lee Jung Hoo always want to fulfill a dream to play Major League Baseball in America?
이정우 선수는 메이저리그에서 뛰게 되는 이런 경험들이 얼마나 원했는지, 이게 얼마나 큰 꿈인지도 궁금하네요.
사실 류현진 선배님이 메이저리그에 진출하고 나서부터 한국에서 여기 메이저리그를 시청할 수 있는 폭이 넓어졌는데, 그때 이제 처음으로 메이저리그라는 경기를 보면서 내가 나도 언젠가는 저기서 뛰고 싶다는 생각을 했었고, 또 한국에서 야구를 했을 때 KBO팀에서 항상 스프링 캠프를 이제 미국으로 와서 미국 메이저리그 팀들의 훈련지에서 훈련을 하다 보니까 그러면서 나도 언젠간 이런 곳에서 뛰고 싶다는 생각이 더 컸었던 것 같아요.
Yeah, number one, for sure, when Hyunjin Ryu started playing for the Dodgers, that's when a lot of Korean people got to watch Hyunjin Ryu pitch on his starting day through television in Korea. That's when they started airing the Major League Baseball games. So I think that's my first time that's when I interacted with Major League Baseball. And number two is all the Korean teams used to go to spring training in Arizona, and that just naturally made me experience how Arizona is in spring training, and just that natural connection that I got with the Major League Baseball system.
Last year, Lee Jung Hoo experienced a shoulder injury. He was out for the whole year. How did that affect him mentally? And how did he prepare watching the games as much as he did because he couldn't play? What did he learn from it?
이정우 선수 작년에 좀 큰 부상이 있었는데 정신적으로 어떻게 좀 받아들였는지, 그리고 이제 올해를 또 준비하는데 얼만큼 좀 도움이 됐는지, 이런 부분들이 궁금하네요.
항상 안 좋은 일이 생겨도 계속 안 좋게 생각하려고 하고 있지 않았고, 또 최대한 작년을 좀 최대한 전화위복 삼아서 또 작년에 내가 부족했던 부분을 계속 연구하고 또 그 부분에 대해서 발전시키려고 겨울에 준비 많이 했고, 또 멘탈적으로 그 시간들이 좀 더 이 빅리그에 어울리는 선수가 되지 않았나 생각하고 있습니다.
Yeah, last year, for sure, I had a lot of time researching, and of course, it was a big injury, but I tried not to think of it as a negative thought, just probably think about it as maybe a comeback, a better comeback for next year. And for sure, mentally, this is where I learned the most. I feel like I mentally learned naturally how to become a Major League Baseball player from the injury.
A few more minutes on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Lee Jung Hoo and his interpreter, Justin. Let's have some fun thoughts here, gentlemen. What kind of hobbies does Lee Jung Hoo go to once he's away from baseball?
이제 야구 외적으로 좀 재밌는 질문들을 몇 개 할게요. 좀 야구 외적으로는 취미가 좀 어떻게 되나요?
전 드라마 보는 걸 좋아합니다.
Yeah, I like to watch my shows.
Just different television shows or movies?
Yeah, television shows.
Does he ever play golf?
골프는?
골프 치는 거 좋아하는데 시즌 때는 잘 안 치는 거예요.
I love playing golf, but during the season, that's not easy.
What about swimming? Does he get in the water and swim at all?
수영은 잘하냐?
No, swimming isn't a hobby.
Besides Korean food, has he tried any American food that he likes?
미국 음식 시도해봤던 것 중에 좋아하는 음식 뭐가 있나요?
햄버거.
Hamburger.
What about music? Has he listened to much American music?
미국 음악 좋아하는 건 많이 들었어요, 미국 음악은?
그럼요. 한국에 있을 때부터 그 외국 힙합 좋아했습니다.
Yeah, not only coming here listening to music, but I used to listen to a lot of hip hop in Korea, American hip hop. So I do like American music.
Well, as we finish up here with Lee Jung Hoo, at your press conference, you wanted everybody to say, hey, are you good looking? Are you a handsome man? But he also said something at the end of this, the interview, more or less the process. What was it? And tell him to say it in English.
이정우 선수가 프레스 컨퍼런스 때 이제 했던 얘기들 중에 핸섬 이런 얘기들이 있었는데 혹시 그 영어로 한 번만 다시 반복을 할 수 있는지, 한 번 더 얘기해 줄 수 있는지.
Handsome?
Handsome, and what else? It was more or less, let's go Giants?
Let's go Giants, though.
Let's go Giants.
There you go. Well, gentlemen, enjoy Philadelphia. Thank you for your time, Justin, as well as Lee Jung Hoo. It's a pleasure to talk to both of you, and continued success for this season.
올해 성공을 기원하겠습니다.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Lee Jung Hoo and Justin Interpreter. That was on the Extra Inning postgame show with Bill Laskey. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
The right side of the infield is wide open. The pitch. That is lined to center field. That's going to be a base hit. Fitzgerald in to score. Ramos to second. He'll stop there. Adames was not waiting around. And he knocks in the fourth run of the game. It's 4-1 Giants.
All right, back on the Extra Inning postgame show on a Sunday afternoon. Giants lose in Anaheim earlier in the day, 5-4. The Angels scored 4 runs off Ryan Walker in the bottom of the ninth inning to pull that game out. Giants are now coming home for a 7-game homestand after they just got off the road for 10. They went 5-5 on the road trip. They lost their second series today. They lost an earlier one against the Reds when they played at Oracle. 14-8 coming home. I really believe this team played well. They had some bad elements in New York with rain and wind. They went to Philadelphia in a hard place to play against the Phillies. They split with the Phillies. They took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, but they lost today to lose 2 out of 3 to the Angels. 5-5, as I said, coming home, and they need some home cooking. They got 4 games against Milwaukee. First game tomorrow, 6:45 right here on KNBR. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Jung Hoo Lee, something I wanted to try. You could see the translator, Justin, bringing in the questions to Lee Jung Hoo and try to make them simple, try to make a conversation out of it, and I hope you enjoyed it. I had a fun time doing it, just talking to Justin and setting up the whole thing. And what was cool about it, when I was doing the interview, they didn't know I was a professional pitcher with the Giants for many years. So once they found that out, they were asking me more questions about my career than with him. So it was a fun time. We did it in Philadelphia when they were in Philly, and it turned out great. Coming up next, I sit down with a 14-year veteran of the Angels. He's in the Angels Hall of Fame. Great player, a great guy, just a super individual. I've got to talk to him a few times in the last few years. What I just didn't understand, and I was looking this up, he never made an American League All-Star team. And I didn't have a chance to ask him that. I was looking this up just when I was listening to Jung Hoo Lee. He was a Silver Slugger Award winner. He was an American League Rookie of the Year. The numbers, 299 home runs in his career, 24 triples, 48 stolen bases, some really good, solid numbers. And that individual is Tim Salmon. So we're going to bring him up next before we see tip-off at 6:30 for the Warriors. So sit back as I bring in a nice introduction to Tim Salmon, and really enjoyed this conversation. So Tim Salmon coming up next on the Extra Inning postgame show, and bringing that to you next on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Welcome into the Extra Inning postgame show with Bill Laskey. My guest played 14 years of his career in the Angels' history. He was American League Rookie of the Year in 1993, a World Series champion in 2002 when the Anaheim Angels beat the San Francisco Giants. And in 2015, he was elected into the Angels Hall of Fame. Let's welcome in a friend, Tim Salmon. How are you, Tim?
Hey, I'm doing great today, Bill. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. And I want to start off with your 14-year career with the Angels. A great career, a Hall of Famer. Did you ever think of maybe stepping aside in free agency and possibly joining another club?
Well, you know, I did at the end of my career. I actually missed all of 2005. Well, I had some major shoulder and knee issues that I milked along until the 2004 season and actually finished that year on the disabled list the last month of the season. So 2005, I had surgery and didn't think I was going to come back. And what do you know? They put Humpty Dumpty back together again, and I came back. And, you know, the Angels really had moved on, and I thought maybe if I went and made a good spring, you know, showing that they might trade me or, you know, might release me and get picked up with somebody else. But as would have it, it was the first year of the World Baseball Classic, and the Angels had a few injuries as well. So a lot of the big boys were off playing World Baseball, and some of the injuries, all of a sudden I was playing every day in spring and getting the at-bats, and the Angels went into the season with some injuries waiting to come back, and so I ended up making the team as a 25th guy. So I was totally prepared to maybe go off and play somewhere else for another year or two and finish it up somewhere else, and as it was, I finished up with the Angels, so it worked out perfect.
Tim, growing up, you played 3 sports in high school, baseball, basketball, and football. Why was it so important for you at that time to play multi-sports?
You know what? It was just part of life back then. It wasn't that it was necessarily important. It's just what we did back then, right? I mean, you moved from season to season, dusted the glove off when it came time for baseball in the spring and summer, and you know, and I have a good friend here that we put all the sports together, and we were laughing about the fact that senior year summer league we were playing summer baseball, we had you know, summer basketball in the mornings, and then summer football in the afternoons, and then we'd go to our summer baseball games in the evenings. So it was just the way life was, right? I mean, I think everybody in that generation was playing multiple sports, and I honestly, I've been coaching high school up until a year or two ago, but I coached for the first 15 years when I retired, and I tell you what, the athletes are different today than they were then. I mean, they're great in the sport they play, but they definitely miss out on some of the athleticism and some of the mental toughness and some of the agilities and all the things that I think our generation got playing all those different sports. But without a doubt, you know, they've got the 10,000 hours in the one sport they're playing, so they look good, but I just don't know if the athleticism is the same.
That voice you hear in the Extra Inning postgame show, my guest, Tim Salmon. Hey, Tim, after high school, you got drafted. You didn't go to pro ball. You ended up going to Grand Canyon University, and you really excelled in baseball. How was it for you to kind of stop playing basketball, stop playing football like you just said, and all of a sudden now you're focused on baseball?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first time in my life I played baseball year-round, and, all of a sudden, all those extra at-bats, I got to that 10,000 theory pretty quickly, and, I went to a small school, it was an NAIA school at the time, and we didn't have the Division I requirements, so we played literally 60 games in the fall, and then I think we had another 65 in the spring, and then we had a JV team, and and then with that, I mean, we were able to be on the field practicing from noon until 6:30, 7 o'clock every day. So for the first time in my life, I was sharpening a tool in my tool belt that I'd never done before, and my baseball just took off. And so it was a very instrumental time for me at that point in my life at 17 years old, and just blossomed. So it was huge for me to go to Grand Canyon. And I got drafted by the Atlanta Braves out of high school, and I remember the scout, he was he had a contract. He was there to sign me, but after he got done doing his deal, he took his hat off and he said, "All right, here's the deal. You're not going to sign this contract. You are going to Grand Canyon College, and you are going to be so much better off in 3 years because they're going to prepare you for pro ball." And he was so right. I'm so thankful for that scout that, wasn't out just to sign me, and he was looking out for my best interests.
It wasn't just about baseball. It was about education also, and I think a lot of kids need to understand that. Jumping out of high school, you lose that education to go to college, and a lot of times, Tim, players don't go back to college once they get into pro ball. Was that another accolade that you wanted to improve on?
Yeah, it was. I mean, my dad, always pushed education, and he had his master's, and he always said, "Hey, you always got to have this backup plan." And so I was raised in the right environment where, I knew that I could be doing both. Now I'll say as well, I mean, as much as it's, you're a student athlete, I think it's the other way. I think you're more of an athlete student. So, although I probably didn't get as much out of the academic side when I was there, it still gave me a foundation and a basis. And, and all these years later when I retired, I mean, the first thing I did was go back and finish up my degree. So, it was so important, and it was nice to know that all my eggs weren't in one basket. And, as I'm playing minor league baseball and you're going through the ups and downs, and you just, there was a sense of like, okay, there's more to more to life than baseball, and I have options if things go sideways. And, for me, it was a peace of mind.
Well, your Atlanta Braves scout was right. After 3 years at Grand Canyon, the California Angels draft you in the third round. You end up signing, and all of a sudden you're a pro baseball player, jumping into minor league baseball. You were ready for it, no question about it. You were a college player. Was there a big adjustment leaving home, going to other cities?
Oh, without a doubt. And I think that was the part that really opened my eyes up to the fact that 3 years earlier that scout was right. It's like, going off and basically making it a profession and living on your own. And, back then the minor leagues was tough. I mean, you're playing in old stadiums. You got to provide all your own. You're paying to play, basically. $11 a day, meal money on the road. You're getting paid $750 a month living with 4 other guys. And here I just gotten married. So, the minor leagues is definitely difficult. And I think it's great that people get to experience it, but 95% of minor leaguers never make it to the big leagues, and they realize within 2 to 4 years what it's all about, and they move on. But it was a big adjustment, a big change. I had a couple major injuries my first couple years too. I got hit in the face twice at the plate, and so I was dealing with the injury bug those first few years, and so there's a lot of uncertainty about it. And it was basically sink or swim. I mean, everywhere you looked, to your right and the left, you saw talent. I mean, I always tell people today as I do the Angel games, I'm like, even the worst major league pitcher was your number one starter, Friday night starter in any division school across the country. So, I mean, you're playing with the best talent night in and night out in pro baseball, whether it's in the minor leagues or at the big league level. And, that's quite an adjustment. You don't have any of those softies that you can go pad the stats on when you get into pro ball.
Tim Salmon joining me on the Extra Inning postgame show. You get through the minor leagues, and this is something that fans need to understand. Each year, each division, A-ball, AA, AAA. But then you get to the PCL, and the numbers just came right off the paper when I'm reading them. 38 doubles, 29 home runs, 105 RBIs. You hit 347. Later on in your career, you ended up being the Pacific Coast League Hall of Fame also with those numbers. What made you just jump into AAA level? Because this is something that you were locked in the entire year.
Yeah, my first year in A-ball, I got hit in the face. My second year in A-ball, I got hit in the face. So I didn't really have those 2 seasons. So my real first full season was in AA. That second and a half year, let's call it. And I learned a lot of things, had some ups and downs. But it was when I went to AAA, that was really my second full season, and I had some really good coaches. A guy named Lenny Sakata, he played for Baltimore. He was fantastic. He really helped me with the mental side of hitting because everybody has physical ability. I mean, it's really, it's the cat and mouse of the game and what's taking place at the plate that I really needed that coaching and that tutelage. And, I had the perfect scenario with Lenny Sakata there to help me just, walk through all those at-bats and try to figure out what the guy's doing rather than just going up there looking for a fastball and hitting. I was actually thinking along with the game, and that's really what has to take place at the major league level if you're ever going to get there. You have to learn the ins and outs of what's going on, what's the scoreboard dictate, what part of the game, what's the situation, all that kind of stuff. And it all just clicked for me that year in AAA and got off on a good start, and it just kept rolling. And, that AAA season just completely set the course for my career.
It sure did. You came up a little bit in 1992, and you got a little taste of the big leagues, but in 1993, you made the club right out of spring training. 142 games, 35 doubles, 31 home runs, 95 RBIs, 284 for your first full year, and, of course, the AL Rookie of the Year, unanimous. After that year, what did you feel? How did you say to yourself, okay, I did my first year exactly what I wanted to do. Numbers came off the board. But how did you approach that year at the end and then saying to yourself, okay, now I got to start my second year. A lot of pitchers and things are going to come differently. How did you make those adjustments after your first year?
Well, I think that first year, it's really about the first half of the season. You're just trying to prove you belong, right? And trusting in the process, trusting in the things that I knew about myself from that previous year in AAA and coming to grips with the fact that it works. I had become that hitter. I was also in a great situation with the Angels. They were rebuilding. We had a lot of young guys in that team. So I was going to get the consistent at-bats. That's the biggest thing. You have a manager that's out there saying, hey, go out there and play. It doesn't matter if you're 0 for 4 or 4 for 4. Every day you're in the lineup. And that's a huge bonus. You don't see that a lot in the game. When you do see it, that's when you have an opportunity to see young kids develop. But if you're trying to win, you don't get those opportunities. So I came up at the right time in the Angels organization, myself and Jimmy Edmonds and Garrett Anderson and Damian Easley and Troy Percival. We were all in that era where we were given opportunities to play and play through the ups and downs. So that year came to a close, and I had finished it much like I did the year before. I mean, I played to my potential, and it's a marathon, so you learn to play that long major league season. And I think by that time at the end of the year, I was pretty much settled in my mind. Yeah, I'm a major leaguer. I mean, I've done everything I needed to do to succeed. And of course, during the course of the season, I mean, you're playing these teams enough times that you're starting to understand the rhythms of making adjustments along the way. So, as much as that second year, there were some adjustments to make. Everybody's always making adjustments, but I kind of understood that. And, I was able to kind of roll with the punches, that first year, and it just followed through into my second year and the rest of my career. So I think that first year was such a huge growing period for me that, it really set the course for the rest of that career and my career. And I didn't really have the big struggles my second year, other than I think we had the strike my second year. So that was the only thing that stopped us short, right, in August.
Well, Tim, we're going to jump to 2002, and of course, Giants fans are listening to the show. We're going to put a little salt in their wounds, of course, as the Anaheim Angels ended up beating the San Francisco Giants in the World Series. You guys were down 3-2 going home, and you ended up switching the switch on the Giants, winning the last 2 games. Tell me your thoughts about going into that World Series and how you guys just changed the momentum of that series.
So, that was a really interesting period because I think, was it one of the first years with both wild card teams made it?
Yes.
And,
yes.
The great thing about a wild card team, what I learned about it is, both teams were grinding all through September, right, to get there. Mm-hmm. So we had already flipped the playoff switch on, so to speak, back in September. And, then you roll, we had the Yankees to go through and, they had already clinched probably back in August at some point. And it's just hard to flip the switch. And we were already in that playoff mode. And, it was very much blinders on, nose to the grindstone, grinding it out every pitch, every inning. And, for us, timing's everything, right? Who has the hot hand? And, we just hit a period, I think we were the highest ranked playoff team in the group, but we just had a bunch of grinders. And, I think that was the difference maker. A lot of blue-collar grinders. We went up against you guys and, the Giants, and, it was very much – David and Goliath, it was all Barry Bonds, right? Barry Bonds was everything. And, he had such a great supporting cast, but, gosh, he got all the marquee attention, and it was, it was all about him. And it was, so it was almost like the attention was on you guys more than it was us, and we were able to just kind of slide in there. We're playing with house money, right, at that point. We're just like, let's go out there and do what we can do. And, we grinded it out. We came back from San Fran down 3-2, and I got to tell you, that was a seminal moment in all of our. We all talk about it. That plane ride home, going, okay, our backs are against the wall for the first time. Thinking to ourselves, would have been better to never have gotten here than to come this far and lose it. It was that really hit home with me. Like, this is one of those mountaintop experiences. You're 100 feet from the top of Everest, and you're looking at maybe having to turn around. So I think it was very much one of those moments. All of a sudden, the pressures, you kind of felt it. But, for us, thankfully, we came home. We had the rally monkey behind us. We had the big angel. Southern California has always been kind of a, it's just such a family market, right? And so the intensity we saw during the playoffs was something I'd never experienced in Anaheim. And I really believe, I really believe that fan base, the way they came out and we had the thunder sticks and everything, we created an atmosphere that was very much supportive of us and really got us through, I think, those last two games. And, of course, we all know what happened in Game 6, and the comeback. That was just amazing. It was almost like a team of destiny. You started seeing things happen that were kind of unexplainable. But we had a great run. Like I said, we had we were such a blue collar team. We had so many supporting cast. It was on our team. You can look back at every guy on our team had their playoff moment. We really relied on the team effort. And, every game during that series, there was a different guy that came out big. And, we get back together as a group and all these years later, and it's like you can look at everybody in the face and say, oh, yeah, he had that moment. He had that moment. All the way to the guys on the bench. So it was a great team. Just so thankful for it. I'm really, it's funny you say this because we're talking about this because Jason Schmidt, he lives in my neck of the woods, and I actually coached his kid in high school, Mason. And so Jason was around all the time, and it was always kind of one of those surreal things. And everybody say, hey, you guys played against each other in World Series, and I'm like, yeah, and Jason's like, yeah.
Two different opinions.
Yeah, I know, and Russ Ortiz, I know Russ really well out here, so I run across some of these guys we battled against, and I know I think about the World Series on a regular basis. It's one of those. It's like one of those biggest moments in your life. You always have that trophy. You always have that experience, that mountaintop experience, and it will go with me to the grave. And when I get around some of these guys, I think to myself, like, gosh, it's got to be hard to have been that close and not won it, So anyway, all that to say that, hey, you Giant fans, you guys had your say a few years ago. You got plenty of World Series, but that was a great period of time for the Angel fans back in 2002.
As we finish up here with Tim Salmon on the Extra Inning Postgame Show, Tim, of course, I mentioned the Hall of Fame, the Angels Hall of Fame. You got inducted in 2015 with Mike Witt and Dean Chance. An opportunity to thank the fans, an opportunity to thank the organization, and also just an opportunity to thank Major League Baseball to give you this opportunity to play professional baseball. When you think about that whole dilemma of all this in one picture, what do you have to say for yourself?
Oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. Pinch me. I mean, it's like to live this life. If I had to go back and do it all over again, I wouldn't want to, because I can't believe I've experienced the things I've experienced. I mean, from the time I was a little boy, I loved the game of baseball. I would be in the backyard imagining facing, Ron Darling or somebody in the Mets back when I was a kid watching the World Series. And, to have been able to have this life, not only to play in the major leagues and have that career, but then to play in the, World Series game, and then to do it all with one organization too. I mean, cradle to grave. I mean, I'm still doing TV for the Angels. I'm like probably the longest tenured person in this organization. To go back and say, could I imagine myself in this situation? Never in my wildest dreams. Could I even, I could never even have wished for this kind of a life. So I am so blessed. I am so fortunate. Just can't be thankful enough for all the experiences I've had with this organization, and all the milestones and great things that have happened, and to still be a part of it. It's truly my family. It's truly my family, and couldn't be more thankful.
Well, Tim, I want to thank you for your time today, bringing back some great memories of a fantastic career, and I just appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you, Bill, and it's always great to jog the memory banks and talk about it. You got to have gray hair to remember this era, right?
That's right.
I get around these kids, and these kids look at me like I'm Babe Ruth, and I'm like, oh my gosh, time is flying.
Oh, that's great stuff, Tim. That was Tim Salmon on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning post-game show. Once again, happy Easter to you and your family. Enjoy the rest of the evening as we finish out a Sunday. Giants drop a heartbreaker in Anaheim 5-4 as the Angels score 4 in the bottom of the ninth against Ryan Walker, and the Giants end up losing it. They're 14-8. 10-game road trip. They come home 5-5. The Brewers are in town. Robbie Ray on the hill, first pitch right here at 6:45 Monday night. I want to thank my producer, Kyle Haar. Did an amazing job picking up phone calls and producing the show. I really appreciate what his time did. And 2 interviews, Jung Hoo Lee as well as Tim Salmon. If you didn't get to hear them, they'll be on the All KNBR podcast. Next weekend, we'll be following up the Texas Rangers on Saturday and Sunday. I'll also do the post-game show on Friday on Sports Phone KNBR. For Bill Laskey, have a great rest of the day. Go Warriors, of course, and more coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.